What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Culture 316 podcast. I'm your host and producer, Jordan Nahisi. I'm not with Mo today. Mo has a little bit of a flu and she'll be better next week, but I'm actually joined by my dog, Cujo Kev. He is a graphic designer. He has some amazing work, and he is also the latest addition to Culture 316. Kev, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty well. Can't complain. It's Thursday, almost WrestleMania weekend. Lots of great wrestling coming up tomorrow as well. I'm
Yeah.
feeling pretty good about everything, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, we just saw the reveal of the WrestleMania 40 set, which we have mixed opinions of, and if we get to that, we get to that. But also, they also announced that Coco Jones will be singing the national anthem, which I'm really excited about. And obviously, we know that Meek Mill will be at WrestleMania, Lil Wayne will be at WrestleMania. So a lot of things are going on in the wrestling community. But to all of our supporters, thank you guys so much for joining us. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, be sure to subscribe, give this show 5 stars. If you're listening on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, this Saturday for WrestleMania Saturday, we will be doing a 316 space. So if you want to build with community with us, you want to chill and hang with us, you're more than welcome to. We will be on X per usual. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys there. But anyway, without further ado, we're going to get into our predictions for WrestleMania weekend, specifically for NXT Stand and Deliver WrestleMania Saturday night and WrestleMania Sunday night. So let's get right into it. So the first wrestling related event of the trio of events this Sunday will be NXT Stand and Deliver 2024, obviously headlined by none other than Carmelo Hayes versus Trick Williams. They will be the first two black men to main event an NXT PLE for WrestleMania weekend, which I'm super excited for. But we're not going to waste any more time, and we're going to get right into these match predictions. So, on the kickoff show, we have Shawn Spears versus Joe Gacy. Kev, who do you have?
I got Joe Gacy on this one. Based on what I've been seeing on NXT, I think Shawn Spears kind of came back um in this role to kind of help Joe Gacy, kind of like get a little bit of that momentum back. Joe has been kind of just been like lingering ever since he faced off with Dijak in that incredible match that they had. But yeah, I feel like right now is the perfect time to pull the trigger on a victory for Joe Gacy.
I actually agree with you. I'm going to go with Joe Gacy on this one as well, kind of piggyback off of what you said. I think that Shawn Spears has been brought back to NXT, and while he has been made to feel important, I feel like his role is to elevate the new young talent. Obviously, we saw his role in AEW, we saw his role in NXT the first time. He was a United States champion when he was in WWE before, but I think that his role is a little bit different now, and he's really here to help the new talent. So based off of that, I think that Joe Gacy is going to be winning this kickoff show match. Then we're going to go into a 6-woman tag. We have Thea Hale, Fallon Henley, and Kelani Jordan versus JC Jane, Kiana James, and Izzy Dane. So I just wanted to know who do you have in this match?
I'm gonna go with Team Fallon Henley.
Hmm.
They have been kind of like getting their asses beat like every week now. JC's team has been getting all the heat
Mhm.
as of late, so I think for a feel good victory on the kickoff show, they're gonna go with Fallon Henley and her squad.
I agree. The reason why I agree with you is because once again we know that Thea Hale and JC Jane are back on the opposite sides of each other. I feel like you have to sell Thea's face turn, I guess you can say, or Thea's return to kind of her roots as a character. And I feel like if you were to turn her, back to kind of her original character and she loses, I think she loses momentum. So I feel like that team is going to win that match. Now we're going on to a triple threat match for the NXT North American Championship. We have Obafemi versus Dijak versus Josh Briggs. Who do you have in this one?
Hmm. This is really tough, but I'm gonna have to say Dijak. I
Mm,
mean, I don't think Obafemi loses anything from losing this match. I mean, granted, it's a triple threat, so the other participant, Josh Briggs, he can actually take the pin after a really nice showing, himself. But I think, after losing, Dijak can kind of go on a little tear. He definitely deserves it at this point in his career
mm,
to hold a title such as the North American Championship for a little while, do the little open challenges if he's down for it.
mhm.
And then Obafemi, just moving straight up to the World Heavyweight um, Championship scene or the NXT title scene.
Yeah. I definitely funny thing is I actually think that Josh Briggs is gonna get it. I feel like him splitting off from being in a tag team, I feel like you have to kind of sell that. I also feel like Dijak cut an incredible promo. And even though he is a traditional heel, because of the quality of that promo, I think that the crowd is going to receive him as a face. And the last thing I want is for Dijak to lose momentum. I feel like if he has that face reception and he wins the title, he's gonna fizzle out quickly. Whereas if you have Josh Briggs win it in some type of questionable manner, and then Dijak kind of comes back around for him, I think that could be a solution as well. So I'm gonna go with Josh Briggs. I'm gonna go with Josh Briggs because I feel like he needs this more than Dijak or Obafemi. Um, but moving on to the NXT Women's Championship match, we have Lyra Valkyria versus Roxanne Perez, aka Baby AJ Lee. So, who do you think is going to win this match?
Um, hmm. I'm gonna have to say Roxanne. I'm loving her heel work.
Mm,
Besides like maybe switching it up from like the very generic, like robotic kind of sounding promos. I've been really enjoying the new character change, and I think the time is now to finally regain her championship that she never lost in the first place. And I think actually, it's gonna be Tatum Paxley who will be costing Lyra Valkyria the match inadvertently or on purpose. Either way, I think a program is um coming up for them. There's something definitely in the works. There's something going on. So I think right now would be the perfect time for Roxanne to go on like a monster heel run and be like, hey, like I'm just the bully of the locker room and none of you guys can do anything about it.
I definitely sense that. I definitely sense that. I definitely think that Roxanne should definitely be the one that comes out on top. I love her character work as a heel. I feel like I don't know what type of meeting her and CM Punk had, but it worked. And we can see that character work kind of come into play. But I definitely see her coming out on top as the NXT Women's Champion at Stand and Deliver. But next, we have the NXT Tag Team Champions. We have Baron Corbin versus Braun Breaker. Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker versus Nathan Frazier and Axiom. Who do we have in this match?
So I'm gonna call them Need for Speed just because they're so freaking fast, especially Nathan Fraser. But I think it's time for them to also become champions and run the tag team title scene for a little bit. Braun Breaker has already been called up to SmackDown, as we all know,
Hmm.
or may not know, but he's called up, and Baron Corbin. While I've been enjoying his work in NXT, I would kind of like to see him mix it up with some of the guys on the main roster again,
Hmm.
especially after the draft, which I'm guessing is going to come probably around this time or maybe sometime in the summer.
Yeah.
But I'm anticipating that, just for a little shakeup of the rosters, give us something fresh. I think Baron Corbin coming back to either Raw or SmackDown would be a very welcome change for me.
I can see that. I think I'm gonna go with, as you would call them, Need for Speed. I could definitely see them on the grounds of Braun being called up to the main roster. I could definitely see Nathan and Axiom taking that tag team title match, even though there was a little bit of underlying tension for a little bit in that team. I definitely see them kind of bringing it together and pulling it off. Also, I feel like their speed gives them kind of a very clear one up on Braun and Baron. And I feel like they can win without making them look weak, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna go with them. Next, though, we have for the NXT Championship, Ilya Dragunov versus Tony D'Angelo. Who do we have in this match?
Dragonov, the Mad Dragon, man.
Yeah.
I think it's very like very impossible for anyone on the main roster, or not even main roster. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm kind of riffing here, but anyone on the NXT roster, I don't think they're really capable of beating Dragunov right now.
Yeah.
I think after Oba loses his match, he will be gearing up to face Ilya Dragunov. But I still don't think the time is, you know, right for Ilya to lose the title. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna go with Ilya on this
I can see that. I could definitely see Ilya. I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna go with Ilya Dragunov on this as well. I personally feel like he's going to be the one that takes the Intercontinental title off of Gunter whenever it's his time to go to the main roster. And but I love Ilya. I love his passion. I love his energy. And ultimately, I feel like because of the way that Tony has been kind of doing these mind games against Ilya Dragunov, I feel like Ilya is going to just kind of overcome him mentally, and that's going to be the story of this feud and of this match. Is just how he's been able to overcome Tony's mind games. So I'm looking forward to it, but I definitely have Ilya Dragunov. And last but not least, the first two black men to main event in NXT PLA during WrestleMania weekend, we have Carmelo Hayes versus Trick Williams. Who do you have?
one. Gotta go with Trick Willie, man.
Yeah.
It's time. Carmelo, he has been appearing here and there on SmackDown. I actually got to see him um on SmackDown when he came to my hometown. And like looks impressive already. Like Carmelo is more than ready for the main roster. And now's the time to, really pull the trigger on Trick Williams. He's organically gotten over super hot right now in NXT. He could be the one to take, if anybody, he could be the one to take the title off of Ilya.
Hmm.
I know they have a little bit of that friendly rivalry there. They respect each other, especially after that match that they had, and their mutual disdain for Carmelo. Um, there's no other answer other than there's no other answer than Trick Williams. Like
Yeah.
come on, this is
Yeah,
perfect.
I agree. It's Trick Williams' time. I feel like Carmelo is going to insert himself in the U.S. title picture on SmackDown. Um, because I believe that that's just a scene that I know he can own. But it's Trick Williams' time, man. He has the momentum. I feel like this is his way of getting this feud out the way so that he can go for the NXT title. And I believe that he's going to be an NXT champion. But I think this is Trick Willie time. So I'm gonna go with Trick Williams on this one. That wraps up the NXT Stand and Deliver prediction. So if you guys agree with our predictions, let us know. If not, whatever. But let us know. But we're gonna be moving on to WrestleMania Night One. Now, before we get into these predictions, I just want to say, just looking at this card from top to bottom, this is easily match wise, in my opinion, the best WrestleMania we've had in the last 5 to 10 years. I mean, we've had some main events that were really, really, really good. Some main events that were better than these main events, but I'm talking about from the card top to bottom. This thing is just absolutely stacked. Um, and it's also marking the first WrestleMania that has no involvement from a McMahon. Thank the Lord. But we're gonna get right into these matches. So the first one, we got Rey Mysterio and the newest member of the LWO, Dragon Lee, versus Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio. Who do we have in this match?
I'm gonna go with Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee for the simple fact that they are a part of a unified faction.
Yeah.
Dragon Lee is officially now a member of the LWO, as we saw last Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And Santos and Dominic, while they do have a bit of a deal going on here, they're not part of the same faction. At the end of the day, Santos represents LDF, and Dominic is a part of Judgment Day, which is like, there's a little bit of tension there as well because of Andrade, in the mix.
Yeah.
So I think because of that, all these different things at play, Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee are more than focused right now, especially after coming back um, from injury for Rey Mysterio. So I'm gonna go with those two.
I'm actually gonna go against you, and I'm gonna tell you why. Number one, if you notice when Rey Mysterio picked Dragon Lee as his partner, Carlito had a little bit of a face. And I
Yes.
feel like that's going to play a very, very big role this Saturday because I think that Carlito's going to turn heel. If you notice Carlito's presentation since he's been back in the WWE, he's never had on really, well, he had at one point, he had on LWO merch a couple times, but every time we see him, he's in Carlito merch. Um, and every time Ray and Carlito kind of team up, it doesn't really go as planned. They always take a L. And I feel like Ray picking Dragon Lee over Carlito, I think is going to be one of those things where it's going to be like, okay, this is the straw that breaks the camel's back, and I'm out of it. I don't want anything to do with it. Now, when it comes to Santos and Dominic, I think that we're going to get a Judgment Day breakup soon, and I feel like we're going to see Dominic go to LDF. And I feel like part of the reason why is just because when you see Dominic in the Judgment Day, he's still kind of considered like the little homie. Whereas when he's with Santos, they kind of see each other as equals with a common enemy. And I feel like if he were to go to LDF, it would be a huge upgrade to his character. We'll see a totally different side of him. And I feel like, yeah, I just feel like Dominic is gonna make that jump soon. But to kind of, you know, bring it back to the main point, I think that Santos and Dominic are going to win this Saturday. Moving on to another blockbuster tag team match. This time it's a 6-woman tag. We got Bianca Belair, Naomi, and Jade Cargill versus Damage Control. Dakota Kai, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. I need to know who's going to win this one.
The Powerpuff Girls, man. Bianca, Naomi, Jade, the perfect team right there. Like, you cannot scream the word star louder than when you see these three together. Like, that is a super team right there. I don't care what anyone says. And it would be foolish of WWE to not capitalize on having Jade win her first, like real match outside of the Royal Rumble,
Yeah.
and it's at WrestleMania too. Like, I'm sorry to Asuka's WrestleMania streak, but like she is and Damage Control are not winning this match.
Yeah.
And they're also going to be building Bianca's undefeated streak at WrestleMania too. So I don't know. All the stars are kind of aligning for that team. Naomi coming back as well,
Yeah.
gaining a big victory at WrestleMania. Yeah, I gotta go with those three. Hard to bet against them.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. When we look at Bianca Belair, Naomi, and Jade Cargill, this is the super team. When we heard that Jade Cargill was coming to WWE, this was one of the things that we wanted, right? We wanted to see either Jade face off against Naomi and Bianca or team with Bianca and Naomi. And we're getting that. We're getting that super team. We're getting that Black Girl Magic WrestleMania moment. And I'm super looking forward to it. The only thing that I have to say, though, I feel like WWE needs to capitalize off of this trio. They don't have to be a faction, but the people need merch. We need a Bianca Belair, Naomi, and Jade Cargill shirt. Whether it's them pointing at the WrestleMania sign, whether it's them after the match hugging, or them taking some type of studio photo together, we need the merch. We need the Bianca, Naomi, Jade merch. It's we just need it. The people need it. But I am gonna go with the Powerpuff Girls winning this one. Now it just seems like I feel like the theme is tag teams right now because we're going into a 6-pack ladder match for the undisputed tag team championships. Now, an important stipulation to note: the match only ends when both sets of titles are retrieved. There's going to be 2 sets of titles hanging above the ring, the Raw tag titles, SmackDown tag titles. Whoever retrieves both will be the undisputed tag team champions. I think this is going to be very important to know because I think there's going to be a split in the tag titles. But in this match, we have the Judgment Day, Damian Priest and Finn Balor versus Awesome Truth versus, was it DIY? Versus DIY versus the New Day versus New Catch Republic versus A Town Down Under. Who do we have for this match?
I kind of just changed my pick just
Mm,
off, just off glancing at the graphic, but unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go with Awesome Truth.
mm,
They're gonna take one of the sets of championships, the Raw ones, because they are Raw superstars. I think they're gonna get their moment, like they can be the first team to take down the belts and be like, yay, like cheap pop. Miz and R-Truth won championships at WrestleMania, cool.
mm.
But then on the other side, over on SmackDown side, I think New Catch Republic are going to take the championships. You have to have at least one set of Triple H's kids, as you will,
Yeah.
to win at WrestleMania. And I just don't think um, they would pull the trigger on having both DIY and New Catch Republic winning on the same night. My guess is that Awesome Truth are going to win, and on like the Raw after WrestleMania, do an open challenge, DIY answers, then they win the championships.
Okay. I'm gonna go with DIY winning the Raw titles. And I'm gonna go with A Town Down Under winning the SmackDown tag titles. I've been getting this feeling of A Town Down Under and Logan Paul kind of being like a unofficial faction. And I feel like if you want to clean house, make them clean house and have them have all the gold. Have Logan with the US title, have A Town Down Under with the tag titles. So I feel like we're going to have A Town Down Under winning one set of titles and then DIY winning the other. That's just me though. But speaking of tag teams, that brings us to Jay Uso versus Jimmy Uso. Who do we have in this match?
No eats. Jimmy Uso is going to win this match, and hear me out. Jay Uso has been positioned ever since he left the Bloodline as main event,
Yeah, that's very true.
despite the fact that he loses like 80% of those matches, he's in them. And Jimmy is not. Jimmy is the one that has to instigate in these matches to even get any crumb of attention around here that is not given to him already by the Bloodline.
Mm,
He's their hitman. He's the guy that goes out there and sabotages things. He ruins things, but he doesn't have that one big win under his, like name yet to really put him on the same caliber or the same level as his twin brother Jay Uso.
yeah.
So I think one win right here would be the perfect place to really catapult that momentum, whether it's Solo coming in and interfering or another member of the bloodline outside of the WWE that could be debuting.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. I don't really think too deeply into that, but I think either way, Jimmy Uso is going to be the one that has his hand raised at the end of the night.
I'm gonna agree with you. I think that Jay, ever since leaving the bloodline, he has seen individual success. Whether it's him winning the tag team titles with another partner, him being in a main event spotlight by himself. I feel like Jimmy needs to have something that puts him at the same level as Jay. Or else he's just also always going to be known as Jay's brother. And I also feel like this is not going to be the last time we see these guys match up. I feel like if Jimmy loses, where does he go from here? Um, so I'm gonna go with Jimmy. I'm gonna go with Jimmy winning this match as well. So, yep, that's that. Now we're getting into the last two title matches, at least for the night. We have the Intercontinental title between Gunter and Sami Zayn. Who do we have?
And as much as I would love to see, and this is kind of like a spoiler for another match, my pick for another match, as much as I would love to see Sammy and KO like recreate that Eddie and Redacted like that moment, at WrestleMania after, who wins his title match on night two. They both come out and celebrate with their championships, but I just don't think that is in the cards. I think Sammy is gonna crack under pressure.
Mm,
Gunther is just, he's really like focused. He's dominant. He's a beast. Like he has no feelings, no regards towards his opponents. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
Chad Gable, I think, has something to do with Sammy not winning or not being focused 100% on winning because, he is still low key very salty about not being on WrestleMania and not facing Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. Like
Mm,
I think, I don't know if he's necessarily going to cost Sammy the match, but I don't know. Like it's like it just seems very impossible to beat Gunther right now. He always gets every new opponent that he faces up against, he always gets them like the first time around. It usually takes his challengers more than one time to really get that victory over him. And I think they're low key building like a WrestleMania streak for Gunther as well.
I
Like
agree.
over the next few years, like not Undertaker level, of course, but the same thing they're doing with Bianca, I think they're going to do with Gunther. So unfortunately, I think Sammy doesn't win and Gunther retains his championship.
I agree with you. I think that Sammy is going to lose. I think that Gunter is going to win. I feel like we're going to see a heel turn from Sammy very soon. I feel like it's that time for him. I feel like the bloodline honorary oos juice has worn off. I feel like the character is now a little bit stale, but we all also know that Sammy is one of those guys who has a switch. And once he turns it on, he's on. And he doesn't miss a lot. So I feel like we just need an event that's going to be the catalyst for that switch to turn on for him. And I think that him losing at WrestleMania a year after he won the tag titles with his best friend in Kevin Owens, I think is that thing that's going to let the switch go off. So I'm going to go with Gunter on this one as well. Now we're going to the Women's World Championship. Fun fact, it seems as if Rhea Ripley's entrance will have a live performance and a live band uh, as she walks to the ring. So we got Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch for the World Women's Championship. Who do we have?
This one's really, I was gonna say it's really tough, but low key it's really not. I mean, I think Rhea retains here.
Yeah.
I think this is the biggest match they could have gotten out of Rhea at WrestleMania for the time being, with like the rosters being set up the way that they are.
Yeah.
Um, I think Becky being a big name definitely does help, the selling of this match.
Mm-hmm.
But Rhea retains. There's just absolutely no reason to take the belt off of her. We've seen Becky have great run. Or I wouldn't even say like great, but she's had runs with the women's championship before, and I know some people are, wishing or wanting more out of Rhea's, championship reign as it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think up until this point, this will be her best match of her title reign. And again, the numbers don't lie. She is doing great in that department, doing great ratings and numbers for, WWE and Raw. So it just makes no sense to take the championship off of her. I think they just need to kind of like ramp it up on the feuds after Becky though. And
Mm,
Becky herself has even said that she wants to focus more on story driven, rivalries versus always having to gun for the women's championship.
yeah. I agree. I think that we're going to see a Rhea Ripley win. Something to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying. Um, I think Becky's going to switch over to more story driven or things that do not revolve around the title. But more importantly, I think it's very, very clear where Rhea Ripley and where Bianca Belair are headed. And that is on a collision course somewhere down the line within the next 2 to 3 WrestleManias of Rhea Ripley facing Bianca Belair. I feel like until that actually happens, both of them need to rack up very formidable, credible wins at WrestleMania over certain opponents. I feel like Bianca got a couple of those with Asuka. I feel like Rhea had a credible one with Charlotte, and I feel like it's going to continue with Becky. And by the time they have their match, it's going to be like this is a real dream match because they've both evolved as performers so much, and they've both created these incredible Hall of Fame worthy resumes. By the time they get to each other, it's gonna be suspenseful to say the very least. So I'm gonna go with Rhea Ripley beating Becky Lynch and retaining her World Women's Championship. And now the main event of WrestleMania Night One: The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. Who do we have?
I'm gonna go with the Bloodline.
Mm,
Final Boss, Tribal Chief. Um, I absolutely want to see Cody versus Roman in a Bloodline rules match. Give
mhm,
it to me. Give it all to me. Like, I want the shenanigans, the over the top booking. I want
mhm,
Cena, Austin. I want Solo in there, everybody in their Civil War style. Like, um, yeah, I
yeah.
think, to get heat on the bloodline, on The Rock and Roman Reigns, they have to win night one,
Mhm,
and plant that doubt in, the minds of the audience for night two. Like, oh my God, like now that all the rules are basically out the window, does Cody actually win?
mhm.
Or does this open the door for something even crazier to happen, which I won't really get into, because we're just doing predictions right now. But yeah, Bloodline takes night one, and then when we get to night two, we can talk about night two.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna go. I'm looking at the my phone just so that I make sure I'm staying on task. But I'm gonna go with Rock and Roman. I'm gonna go with the bloodline for night one. I feel like this is gonna set forth a couple of things. Number one, I feel like we're gonna get a brand new Seth Rollins after Mania because I feel like he's gonna take two L's. I think he's gonna take this L and he's also gonna lose to Drew. And I think that's gonna make way for him turning heel again. And then I feel like it's gonna also lead to versus Co- Roman versus Cody. And I feel like that's gonna set up a Cody Rhodes win. And I may have gotten a little bit too far ahead of myself, but yeah, I just feel like it. I feel like there is little to no speculation or suspense if Cody and Seth win, but there's all the speculation in the world if Rock and Roman wins, and it makes you want to tune into night two. And so I think, no pun intended, I think it's best for business that the bloodline wins night one. But that concludes our night one predictions. Y'all let us know in the comments how y'all feel, if we were right, if we were wrong. Either way, we're moving on to night two. A much shorter match card, but boy, is it stacked. So, first things first, we got Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits versus the Final Testament, represented by Karrion Cross and the authors of Pain. Who do you have?
I got Hurt Profits, or Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. I think they've been, again, with the NXT 3-on-3 tag match. They've been taking the brunt of, all the beat downs as of late. They're always getting, one upped. AOP and Killer, Karrion Cross are always looking good every
Mm-hmm.
single week. So, the city of brotherly love, give it to the team that are most cohesive right now. Um, Even though the most consistent thing of them is, getting beat,
Yeah.
they need that one decisive victory to really push them forward as a faction. Like, we already know that Carrie and AOP are kind of established. They can, go on and do their own little thing, but Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits really need this win to look strong moving forward.
I actually agree with you. I think what their rumored name at one point was the Pride. I feel like the Pride are gonna win. And because they've been at the brunt of all these kind of losses, not even losses, but just attacks and mind games from the Final Testament. Also, Final Testament is easily one of the hardest names of a faction in WWE history. I don't care what anybody says. Um, But yeah, I got Lashley and the Profits on that one. Next, though, we got LA Knight versus AJ Styles. Who do you have in this match?
I'm gonna go with AJ Styles here.
Hmm.
The veteran, I guess, in this match. Even I don't know how long LA Knight has been wrestling, so if he's a veteran too, I'm sorry for like dissing on him in that regard, but it's LA Knight's like first like real
Mania.
WrestleMania,
Yeah.
and um I don't know, I guess kind of a trope. I mean, we have Triple H in charge now, so it may not be true anymore, but I usually feel like sometimes when you're debuting at WrestleMania, you don't always get that, like decisive like victory and anything but a clean win here for LA Knight doesn't really do him well. So I think like a loss is better in the sense, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
AJ, the last WrestleMania match he had was with Edge, and that kind of like for some reason, like AJ Styles, like his matches at Mania haven't really been living up to the hype, whether it was like Randy Orton or like
Yeah.
Edge, um, and even Jericho, like that match was like, that was whatever, and the match with Shinsuke was definitely let down as well. So, AJ kind of needs like a win at least, at WrestleMania to kind of get that like, momentum back that he's kind of lost a little bit and give him
Mm-hmm.
that, surefire heel victory. Like, let him cheat to win.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like really lean into heel AJ here and, have him uh, screw over LA Knight.
I was gonna say I'm gonna go with LA Knight. I feel like even though he is the obviously the underdog and he is a veteran, I was just looking up his stats. I had to bring it up real quick, but he is a former Impact World Heavyweight Champion. He is a former one-time World Tag Team Champion with Scott Steiner, and he is also a former NWA World Tag Team Champion with James Storm. So he's been around the block. He's been around for a bit. I feel like LA Knight, even though he lost opportunities at the title, he's had some momentum, and I feel like we're going to get a star making performance and we're going to get a W from LA Knight. So I'm going to go with that. Um, but next is the United States Triple Threat Championship match: Logan Paul, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens. Who do you have?
I'm gonna go with Kevin Owens here. He seems to be like the perfect fit for the United States Championship right now. Prize
Mm-hmm.
fighter, fighting champion. I would really love to see the U.S. title kind of go back to that open challenge, championship again, which
Mm-hmm.
would be very ironic considering Kevin Owens first came in onto the main roster against an open challenge
Yeah.
U.S. champion Cena. So I think it would be a very beautiful sight to have, him win the championship at WrestleMania, bring back that credibility to the championship again. And I think there's still more to be explored with Randy Orton and Logan Paul. I felt
Mm-hmm.
like, their little interactions or their rivalry has been like very, it only started at Elimination Chamber. So I feel like there's still more room um for growth in their rivalry, and I would really love to see them continue it, with all the promos and then the eventual one-on-one match too.
Yeah.
So that's why I think Kevin Owens is going to take the dub on this.
I'm gonna agree with you. I think Kevin Owens is gonna take that title. I think that I feel like this is gonna be like one of those redemption matches. I remember when he had a US title match versus Chris Jericho a couple of manias ago and Vince hated the match. Um, so I feel like we're gonna get a chance of KO redeeming himself in a way. He finally gets to, he's working with Hunter on the creative side, and I feel like we're gonna get a chance to see the KO US title, match uh that is going to kind of not redeem himself. I thought it was a good match, but just like a sort of a redemption match for him. I think it's going to be really, really cool, but I think the KO is going to win it. So moving on to the WWE Women's title, we have Io Sky versus Bailey. Who do you have?
I'm gonna go with Io on this one.
Hmm.
Backlash is a thing. Backlash
Yeah,
exists because some people need to lose at WrestleMania.
very true.
And, there is still more stories to be told between Io Sky and, Bailey slash damage control.
Mm-hmm.
It really wasn't until recent that, they broke up at least like 3 weeks before um this week, or like WrestleMania is literally this weekend. Yeah, so that was about like 3 weeks ago that they beat down Bailey and, kicked her out of the group.
Yeah.
So I still feel like there's more to be told, like I don't think it makes sense for Bailey to just be like, oh, in like 3 weeks I'm gonna get all my redemption and blah blah
Yeah.
blah. And again, remember the interactions between Naomi and Bailey and Bianca and Bailey. Bianca
Yeah.
is still like, hey, like you remember all the things that you did to me? You think you're
Yeah.
slick, you think you just get off and have everybody gain sympathy for you. Nah, like Bailey needs to know what it's like to lose
Yeah.
because, even though she's been already kicked out of the group, like she still needs to be knocked down
Pegs.
um,
Yeah.
a few pegs, so when she does eventually get that big babyface win, say at like SummerSlam, the people are going to be behind her either way, but the moment is going to be that much greater. And again, backlash exists
Mm-hmm.
for um, moments like this. So they'll have the rematch at Backlash, and maybe she could take the title there.
Mm.
They are doing it in France, and I know that crowd's going to be hot. So no matter where they do it, I think it's going to be a big moment. But I do want to see the rivalry stretch out a little bit more. So I'm going to go with EO retaining here.
I'm gonna agree with you, and I'm gonna go EO. I feel like what's going to happen is that Bailey is going to have to go back to the old version of herself. I think we're gonna see role model Bailey pop out at Backlash, and that is how she's going to win the title. Um, but yeah, I feel like EO, like I feel like this is going to be something that gives Damage Control credibility, especially if they lose the night before to Bianca, Naomi, and Jade. Everybody can't be taking L's, so I feel like EO is going to be the one that holds her own for the sake of the group, and from there she's going to retain that title, I should say. So I'm going to go with EO as well. Next, we have World Heavyweight Title match: Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. Who do we have?
Um, Drew McIntyre, the time is now.
Yeah,
He deserves that victory, that big victory at WrestleMania in front of a crowd. Despite him being a heel, this is probably like the best work he's ever done in his whole
ever,
career.
ever done.
From the mic work, from the Twitter or X as you call it, yeah, I mean, like Drew McIntyre is just really on fire, and he's always been solid in the ring. I think he deserves to be rewarded for it, especially, like taking a big loss to Bobby Lashley at, the first WrestleMania back from um the pandemic, like having the crowd actually be there for the first time, and then us thinking, oh, he's gonna do it, and then Bobby surprising us and beating him at Mania. He
Hmm.
definitely needs to get that big win back. And Seth Rollins is, in the middle of an identity crisis right now.
Yeah,
He's kind of like that, as much as I don't want to say it, he's kind of like that sore thumb sticking out, in this whole rivalry. Like,
yeah,
oh, I'm here, guys, I'm the champion, but he's gonna be too distracted about, the night before losing. Especially if he takes the pin, if he
yeah,
takes the pin the night before, that's definitely gonna get in his head and be like, oh my gosh, like am I actually capable of beating Drew? He's gonna psych himself up, and then Claymore 1, 2, 3. Drew's gonna win at the end of the night. Drew's gonna be the new champion, and like you said, after WrestleMania, there's going to be a new Rollins.
yeah, yeah. I agree with you. Also, something to kind of add on to what you were saying about Drew McIntyre. I feel like with Drew, he's in a he's in the best spot. Like you said, he's in the best spot of his career, right? He's doing his best character work. It's his best in-ring stuff. More importantly, he has a why. I feel like every good wrestler, every good sports entertainer has a central motivating factor. And ever since the return of I mean, not CM Punk, Drew McIntyre found his why, and that why has been driving him, and I think that it's part of the reason why he's doing some of the best work of his career. With that being said, like you said, Seth Rollins is going to be too distracted. He's going to be too all over the place. And because he's too distracted and too all over the place, he's going to run himself dry. And then Drew is just going to come in for the pickings and just pick up what he can, get the pin, win the title. So I think, just like you said, Drew McIntyre is going to win the world heavyweight title. And on to the main event. We have Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes in what we presume to be a Bloodline Rules matchup. Does Cody finish the story or no?
I just want to say before I give my answer to that, like if either man wins on night two, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
I am going to be fine. I'm probably going to laugh if Roman does win, like maniacally, like hysterically laughing because of the meltdown that is going to come after that.
Oh
But
yeah.
I really don't like come on, we really don't need to have Cody lose two WrestleManias in a row. Like
Right.
please. Like we had him win the Rumble twice in a row already. That was cool. I wasn't mad about that, but like just finish the damn story, please. Like I'm not even tired of the whole thing. Like it's like nothing bothers me about how this has been booked, but it's just like, come on, like just do it,
Get
please,
it over with.
for the sake of my mental health and everything else that is good in my life. Like,
Right.
I would love to see a new champion. If Roman wins though, I'm cool with that as well. But my definitive answer is going to be Cody. I just like you can't write the story further. Like there's no like added on like storyline like DLC downloadable content I can add on to the story right now, like after this, I think they should definitely move on, like no matter what the outcome is, like move on from each other. But it's more likely for like that is more likely to happen if Cody does win, if a new champion does come out of WrestleMania.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, Cody's got to finish his story, man.
I was at WrestleMania 39 last year, and one of the most distinct memories I have is the absolute all it felt like all of the air was just sucked out of SoFi when Roman hit the spear and then had the 1, 2, 3. It was one of the most surreal moments that I've ever been a part of as a pro wrestling fan. And I think it was to lead up to ultimately to this moment in an environment where The Rock is involved in WrestleMania weekend, Jay is facing Jimmy. You have all these different moving parts that are kind of stems of what happened from the bloodline. And I believe that we're finally going to get Cody finishing this story. Will I be okay if Roman wins? Absolutely. Right. But at the same time, it's time. We see even flashes of tension between Rock and Roman. Um, we've seen kind of Roman lay down the law in his latest biography documentary for A&E, saying that if he's not a champ, he's out of here. If he's not a top guy, then he's out of here. I just feel like it's time. I feel like it's time for the story to be finished. If not, I want to see how it shapes up. But I think it's time, and I think we're going to get Cody Rhodes winning the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. But that concludes our night two WrestleMania predictions. I'm just going to make sure that I get this. Yeah, that concludes our night two WrestleMania predictions. Let us know in the comments below how you feel about everything. But that also concludes our show. Kev, I want to thank you so much for being a part of this and welcome to the team. As for everyone else, we'll see you guys on Saturday on X for our 316 space for WrestleMania. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you guys next week.